So yesterday we discussed about the expansion during the time of Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, and we discussed about most of the battles against the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire, and consequences you can see on the screen. This is also an interesting topic you can study in detail. And let me briefly mention. Lastly, we discussed about the conquest of Egypt. That was the last conquest during the time of Hazrat Umar Razil Ta'ala Anhu. So, as a result of these military campaigns, both the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire, many parts of these empires, they came under the Muslim control or became the part of the Khilafah. Persian Empire it totally collapsed, and Roman Empire its eastern part, all the parts in Syria, Egypt, they became the part of the Muslim Khilafah. You can study in detail, but let's move forward. This is a chart you can see over here. This is about the battles. Briefly, you can see over here a timeline about the Byzantine battles and battle of Yarmouk, that is important, and conquest of Jerusalem, and siege of and capture of Babylon, and conquest of Alexandria. All we studied in yesterday's class, and today, inshallah, we'll move forward. I think no need to recall that. Today we'll discuss about the martyrdom of Hazrat Umar Razila Ta'ala Anhu, and then we'll discuss about the uh, administration of Hazrat Umar Razila Ta'ala Anhu in detail, inshallah. Just give me a minute. Let me open the document which we are following today. Martyrdom of Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu. Basically, the enemies of Islam, most importantly the Persians, they were thinking that their empire that collapsed because of Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu. And the Jews, they were also the enemies. Romans, they also have become the enemies because, according to them, Hazrat Umar Razira Anhu was a personality. Because of him, both the empires they lost their territories, and the Persian Empire it ultimately collapsed. So both Byzantine Empire and the Roman Empire they were the enemies of Hazrat Umar Razira Anhu. A conspiracy was made, Persian nobles especially. Uh, Before that, they were fighting in the battles. You know that Battle of Qadsiya, and ultimately the last battle, that was Battle of Nahavand. After the defeat in the Battle of Nahavand, Persians they realized that it is not possible to them they can defeat Muslims in the battlefield. So they changed their strategy, and they decided that they should eliminate a Muslim leader Hazrat Umar Razila Anhu. They made a plan, and they sent assassins. Mainly, there were three people. One was Rumzan, and another was Jafina, and the third one was Abu Lulu or Firoz, usually he said. So these three people they traveled from the Persian Empire. Among them, Hurmuzan was also one of the commanders in the Battle of Nehavand, and he was one of the important commander. But they came to Medina, they disguised themselves, and especially Firoz Abu Lulu, he became a slave, and basically their target was to eliminate Hazrat Umar Razila Anhu. They were thinking all of that was because of Hazrat Umar Razila Anhu, and if they would be able to eliminate Hazrat Umar Razila Anhu, ultimately they will be able to restore their empire. So their target was to eliminate Hazrat Umar Razila Anhu. You see that they mostly in the wars, people they target their leaders. You have seen recently Iranian leader he was killed. So the objective was that if they will remove the leader, they will be able to destroy that empire or the country or the state. So it was happening over there. Same, they wanted to take the life of Sayyidina Umar Razil Ta'ala anhu. And his assassination that occurred in the month of like that was 23 AH 644, and in Medina, Hazrat Umar Razil Ta'ala anhu, he was leading in the Fajr prayer in Masjid Nabawi, and Firoz Abu Lulu he attacked with a double-edged dagger. He was in between the namazis or the Muslims. He was apparently showing that he is in between the rows and he's a worshipper and he's a Muslim. And he attacked Hazrat Umar Razil Ta'ala anhu. Hazrat Umar Razil Ta'ala anhu, he asked Abdurrahman ibn Auf to continue the prayer and complete the prayer. So he was injured, and Abdurrahman ibn Auf he completed the prayer. And meanwhile, that attacker he killed or injured many people, and some of them they were killed as well. And ultimately, he was captured, but he killed himself as he was assassin, and he wanted not to reveal the identities of other people, those who were involved in the that conspiracy. But ultimately, they were revealed. Their names were revealed. That's a long story, but as time is short. But all others, Hurumzan and Jafina, they were also revealed, and they were killed by one of the sons of Hazrat Umar Razila Talanu. His name was Ubaidullah ibn Umar. He killed all of them. Hazrat Umar Razila Talanu, he remained sick, or you may say injured, for 3 days. He survived for 3 days. In between, he decided that who will be the next Khalifa. He made a system for that we'll discuss in the Caliphate of Hazrat Uthman Razila Talanu. Now, what lessons we learn from the way he was martyred? There's a question for that as well. We'll study in detail that 4 mark question. Another important thing is that he requested while he was injured and he realized that he will not survive. He requested Hazrat Aisha Razila Ta'ala anha that he should be allowed to be buried beside Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Hazrat Abu Bakr Razila Ta'ala anhu. And Hazrat Aisha permitted, and after his martyrdom, he was buried with Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the same hujra of Hazrat Aisha Razila Ta'ala anha. Lessons we learn from the way he was martyred. He was attacked in the Fajr prayer. It shows his dedication. Even his justice, even his assassin had allowed to present the complaint. There's a story as well that the assassin Firoz Abululu he came to meet Hazrat Umar Razila Tarano a few days before, maybe a day before that incident, and he made a complaint that my master Abu Musa Ashari he's charging me too much, and I'm a slave. Basically, one of the types of the slave that was called makatib. Makatibs were those slaves, those who were allowed to pay an amount, and ultimately, after the payment of that amount, they would be free. So he was a makatib slave of Abu Musa Ashari. Hazrat Umar asked, okay, tell me about yourself, what you can do. So he told many things. I can make many things. He was an artist, and he knew many of the arts of that time, which could be useful for making money. And he also said, I make the floor mills as well. So Hazrat Umar said, okay, make a floor mill for me as well. I need a floor mill. And Hazrat Umar said, you know many works and many jobs. So for you, it is very easy to get 1 dirham every day. So your campaign is not valid. So then he said, okay, make a floor mill for me. So he said, okay, I will make a floor mill for you. The whole world will remember. When he left Hazrat Umar Taranu, you know that he was a genius man. He had realized that he can be my assassin. So he told the people over there, that this person has given me a threat and he has challenged me or he wanted to take my life. But even he knew that he's the assassin. He gave justice. He did justice to that person. From listening his complaint and making a decision on basis of justice, we can see that he was doing justice in every case. Courage and patience we see over here. Even he had the fatal wounds. He remained calm and he asked the first question, who was that person who attacked on me? Was he a Muslim or was he a non-Muslim? When he was told that he was a non-Muslim, then he thanked Allah, I'm fulfilling the responsibilities towards the Muslims and non-Muslims. So ultimately, he knew that some of them they were the enemies. So it was very clear that was a person who was an enemy of Islam and the Muslims. And we can see the concern of Ummah. Even he was injured. So he ensured the peaceful transfer of the leadership through Shura. And humility, we see, feared accountability before Allah. So he asked the first question, who was the assassin? So he was told that he was not a Muslim. So he thanked to Almighty Allah for that. So this was a brief mention of how Hazrat Umar Razila Taranu was martyred. After that, we'll study his administration in detail. But before that, let me talk about a 4 marks question. How to write a good answer. Basically, I have seen that mostly students, they do not write proper answers in B parts. So I will explain a question about the martyrdom. You can see a question over here. What do Hazrat Umar Ziltano's actions in his last days after his attack tell you about his character? So this is a 4 marks question. You know well that in B parts usually we need reasons, but mostly it happened that students, they just give the reason, they identify the reason. But B parts need a few more steps. Second step can be development, not just to identify, but develop the answer, develop that point, develop the reason. And thirdly, evaluate and analyze the points or reasons. So we will see how in this answer we can evaluate the points, we can analyze them, we can develop them, and how we can identify them. Mostly students, they just identify the point, so that's why they get less marks in B parts. And I told you earlier that B parts can be a key to good grades, because you are not supposed to remember anything. You just understand how to write an answer, use your mind, your reasoning, and understand the concept, and you can write a good answer. So question is that ke Hazrat Umar Razila Ta'ala's last days after his attack. So what does that tell about his character? So you can write that Hazrat Umar's actions in final days shows that he was a just, humble, and reasonable leader who cared deeply about the Muslim community even at the time of death. So you mentioned first reason, it shows his commitment to justice. If if you're just writing that one important aspect of his character shows his last year, that he was a strong commitment to justice. If you are just writing this much amount, it means that you are just identifying the reason or identifying a point. If you're writing just this much amount, okay, it shows his strong commitment to justice. It means you are just identifying the point, but you need to develop that properly. For development, you can mention that after being attacked, Hazrat Umar Razila Anhu asked who had attacked him, whether the attacker was a Muslim. So when he learned that he was a non-Muslim slave, he showed concern about justice and safety of the Muslim community. So this part can be the development of the reason. And how we can analyze, if you further write, this shows that even when he was seriously wounded, his priority was justice and fairness, not anger and revenge. So if you are analyzing in that way, okay, he could show anger, he could show revenge, but he didn't show that. He went for justice and fairness. So it means you are analyzing that point. His concern was for the welfare of the community and the proper application of justice. So, if you are writing this much amount, it means you are analyzing. So, you may lead to 3 marks if you are giving in that way, 2 reasons at least. But how to evaluate? You can mention that this teaches that good leader must remain fair and principled even in difficult circumstances. Modern leaders are also expected to uphold justice rather than act of personal emotions. So, in that way, you can connect that to today's time. Even you can relate with any of today's examples. Maybe you can see that today's new leader of Iran, Ayatollah, and he's also a son of the previous leader. Now he has to make the decisions according to fair principles, according to the rules and regulations, not by taking only the thinking of revenge that his father had been killed, but he has to think in the long-term process about the welfare of the community, and in that way he has to move forward and he has to decide the matters. So in that way you can use today's examples and you can relate. So that part will be evaluation. So in B parts, you need to identify the reason, you need to develop the reason, and then analyze and evaluate the reason for good marks. At least two reasons should be properly evaluated and analyzed and properly developed can give you 4 marks. If you're writing three reasons, that is very much good. Now, second reason, you can give that it shows that he was showing his humbleness and simplicity, humility and simple lifestyle. You can mention that when he realized that he might die, Hazrat Umar Radhiyallahu anhu asked his son to seek permission from Hazrat Aisha Radhiyallahu anha to be buried beside Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Abu Bakr Radhiyallahu anhu. Despite being the caliph, he did not assume the privilege and requested permission humbly. So it shows his humbleness, his humility, and simplicity. You can analyze that this shows that he did not consider himself above other. Even he ruled as a vast empire, but he was also answerable and he was humble. And this example shows that true leadership is based on humility and respect, qualities that are also highly valued in modern leadership. You can evaluate and relate in today's time. Maybe somebody is a political leader, maybe leader in a business organization, maybe a community leader, or maybe he's a leader in family. So how he can show humbleness? You can relate that to any leadership role. Maybe you can relate to your own example. Somebody may be a class prefect, or maybe a head boy or head girl, or maybe a house captain. So how he can be humble, how he can be taking others' opinion, all that can be related. So three steps are there: need to identify and develop and analyze and evaluate. I'm not going for much reasons because I just wanted to show how to develop the points because we have short time. So now let's move forward towards the next topic, that is the administration of Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu. We will discuss a few more questions like that, 4 markers, and things will be much more clear, inshallah. Now we'll discuss in detail about the administration of Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala. Just give me a minute. Let me open. I'm just using brief notes. That's why I need to open these notes, and you can follow detailed notes for further details. Hazrat Umar Anhu's administration, that's a very vast topic. You might have seen many questions in past paper. In first lesson yesterday, I've shown you many of the questions, and you have seen many of the questions. They were about the leadership. Wordings can be different. They can ask you directly about the administration or the way he run the government and the way he develop his system or like that. Questions can be in different ways. Hazrat Umar Anhu's administration, you can see that his rule was around 10 years. And during this time, two of the mighty superpowers at that time, the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire, they collapsed and they became the part of the Islamic Khilafah. So, one of the remarkable feature was that there was very little bloodshed comparatively to other battles or the other empires before Islam. So his focus was just to save the lives of the people. So you know that a vast territory became the part of the Khilafah. It was one of the exemplary characteristics of Hazrat Umar Razila Ta'ala anhu and even Hazrat Abu Bakr Razila Ta'ala anhu, though they annexed a very large territory in a short time, but they maintain a well-developed system and they promise the well-being of the common people alongside the expansion, that it set an example, and the rules, regulations and policies of Hazrat Umar Razila Ta'ala anhu, they are still followed. Another important thing which we see during his conquest, that the people of the conquered land, they thought Muslims that they are the liberators, they are not the oppressors. They welcomed them. And before Islam, the Roman, the Persians, they were oppressing the people. They were tyrannical rulers. They were exploitation and injustice. But Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu anhu, Hazrat Abu Bakr Raziyallahu anhu, they employ the principles of Islam, and they establish the glorification of the truth and liberation of the mankind from oppressions. That's why they were welcome all around wherever they extended or expanded the Khilafah. In Khilafah system, we believe that leadership is a trust from Almighty Allah. So practically that was shown by all of the rightly guided caliphs, and we can relate that to Hazrat Umar as well. And he mentioned that uh, this is a trust. So I'm accountable. You can quote over here the first speech made by Hazrat Abu Bakr and specifically Hazrat Umar. We are talking about him. So Hazrat Umar Hazrat Anhu mentioned in the first speech that if I follow the Quran, follow the Sunnah, I follow the way of the previous Caliph, you can follow me. But if I do not follow Quran and Sunnah, and I'm not consulting with Majlis Shura, that you can ask me or you can make me accountable or even accountable in front of the court as well. And he chose the most perfect people, the best people, those who were more suitable for the job. And he relied on consultation and accountability, discipline, public awareness. All of these were the features of his Khilafah. Let's move forward. Principles of his administration, they were justice, consultation, public accountability, simplicity, and service of the people that we'll study in detail. Or as time is short, so let me move a little faster. You can study at home in much more detail. Uh, Important feature was that he treated politics, judiciary, military, organization, welfare, all of them as a part of religious duty. So he treated all of them as a part of his religious obligation, and his goal was just to maintain justice, discipline, welfare-oriented society on the base of the principles set by Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Sir,
Ji, please.
yeah, I just, my target is always that we teach students not only for IGCSE, but for, really make them understand the current scenario, what's happening. So as just go a little up as you were discussing
Sure,
the point.
sure, ma'am.
Uh, uh, he
Yes,
was
ma'am. You
taking it
can.
as religious duty, the politics and all that, that point.
Of course, of course. Let me go up. Okay.
Yeah, little up.
Yes, please.
Yeah, this one, right? The second last on the page highlight. He treated politics, judiciary, military organization, and welfare as part of religious duty. So, yani, these days we think that politics is separate and religious duties are separate. So here the problem starts. Whatever chaos we are facing today in Muslim Ummah is that religious leaders and political leaders are separate. It has to be one. Okay, so you people can bring this point into your discussion if you feel like, in as part B sometimes when you are critically analyzing the situation. So you can just say that, and as a solution, you can, quote this that the problem will be resolved when the political and the religious leadership is on one page and it is the one only, right?
Of course.
So it's not separate. I have heard many people even saying, okay, this dirty politics, we shouldn't involve in this and all that. But actually politics is a part of Islam. How Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would, and these khulafa would have, successfully lead the armies also, and maintain their state if they are not political leaders as well. So
Of,
it's very important part of a state.
of course.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Please
Welcome.
continue.
Welcome. So it is very important point that all the problems they are because we are separating politics and religious leadership, and we'll see further that all of the governors, all of the administrators during all of these caliphs, they were appointed in the mosque, and all of them they were imams as well. They were leading Jummah prayers, and they were both political and religious leaders. And this role, political and leadership role, that was from Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And you can relate even Abu Bakr Razillah Ta'ala anhu, he was chosen on the basis that he was leading in the prayer, he was Amirul Hajj. So it is not separate by any means. So you can relate in B part. So let's move forward. Appointment of officers and administrators. So, whenever any appointment was made, it was written. A written document was prepared at the time of the appointment. In that document, all the rights and duties and limitations of all the people, all the governors, all the amilis, that was discussed. I will come back to that point, but let me explain how the structure of government was, so that will be much more clear. Let me go down. Okay, let me discuss his political and administrative structure, so then you will be able to understand in a better way. Uh, In that setup of the Khilafah, Khalifa was head of the state, and there were different provinces. Around 12 were the main provinces, and further Azerbaijan and Armenia, they were also the Muslim territories. And in each province, there was a governor who was called Wali. And provinces, they were divided into further districts. Maybe a province was divided into four districts, other was in five or seven in that way. So different provinces, they were divided into different districts, and there were more than 1,000 districts. And it is mentioned that more than 4,000 cities, they were annexed to the Khilafah during the reign of Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu. In his structure, in each province, there was a chief secretary. He was called Katib, and military secretary, Katibud Diwan, revenue collector, Sahibul Kharaj, chief officer, Sahibul Ahdas, treasury officer, Sahib Baitul Mal, and chief judge, Qazi. So in each province, this setup was over there, administrative setup. And in each district, similarly, the same setup was in each district as well. So for every district, these officers were there, and for every province, all these of the officers or amilin, that was a term used for them, all of them, they were over there. Governors mostly or usually they were appointed by Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu, but other officers, it was up to the governor. He could directly choose them, or maybe Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu, sometimes he would choose them. So all of these people, when they were appointed, so each and everything was written. Now let's move back to the previous point. So now it will be more clear that all the rights and duties, they were written for all the people which I mentioned down, and all of that was publicly read out in the mosque, because all of the appointments, they were or the setup of the government or the headquarter of the government or provincial government or the districts, the main center, that was mosque. Let me connect over here to a question in paper 2, mostly about mosque is a focal point in Islamic society. So you can relate over here as well. Ke masjid is not only a center of worship, but it can be the center, or it was a center in the time of Prophet ﷺ and Khulafai Rashidin, and even in the Caliphate of Umayyads and then Abbasids and even the Ottomans. It was the center of the all of the political, social, and cultural, and even the warfare that was led from there. Judiciary was set from the mosque. So mosque was the main center.
So, sir, like we
Yes,
can
yes.
make a point here also that today the mosques are not performing that role, right?
Of course, of course.
Even if we conduct anything else other than the prayers in the mosque, the people, think that we are misusing mosque. We have forgotten
Okay.
completely that mosque is not only for worship, it's a community center for. And like we if we look back at Prophet Sallam's example, whenever he went anywhere, like when he was migrating from Makkah to Medina, at Quba, the first thing was built a
Masjid.
mosque. In Medina, the mosque, right?
Masjid.
Everywhere Muslims go. So if it is only for worship, only for prayer, they are praying at home also. They may pray at home also, right? But it is more than only praying. It's a center, as you are saying. So
Yeah, focal
all
point.
students should keep this in mind. And you can just use this point not only in your exam for writing part A or B, wherever it is needed, plus in your lives also. Mashallah, when inshallah you will be the future leaders. So you
Inshallah.
will make those changes, my dear all. Yani, if you have some authority over any area, so just think on these points that we have to revive our ummah back by bringing these changes, that
Of
our
course.
mosque should be activated, inshallah.
Course, it is the only solution we can revive ourselves. And in some parts where Muslims are
Yeah.
minority, they are trying
Mhm.
to work in that way. Maybe in America or European
Mm.
countries, they are trying to revive mosque as a
Exactly,
learning
exactly.
center.
There we can see these things that they are using mosques more than only for worship.
Yeah, of course. So, inshallah, hopefully, we will get our glory back, inshallah, if we are connected to Quran and Sunnah. So, I hope, inshallah, our coming generations, and inshallah, we'll try our best, inshallah. Let's move forward. So it was done. So all the rights and duties, they are protected. They are well clear, and nobody could abuse the authority in any means. Further, a pledge was taken that the one who was a governor or any administrator, he will not wear the fine clothes. He will not eat the fine floor, and he will not take any guard, any gatekeeper, and he will not refuse any audience, any needy person. uh, all that was because the leaders should be like the common people. They should be accessible. They should be uh, connected to the common people, and they should be in the service of the community. So all these things were set for that. And beside that, each and everything like assets, most importantly, they were recorded. And in masjid, it was publicly declared that this person has this much of assets. And when the person would complete his tenure, then all of that was checked, and if something was extra, he was answerable. And another important thing was that all the government officials, governors, even the caliph, all of them, they would get salary for that. They were not allowed to do any business, any other job, or they were not allowed to take gifts or anything like that. So it was it was assured that they should not have anything extra, any should more than the assets which they had when they started their tenure. And these things are unfortunately followed mostly in the European countries and Western countries. They are taking these examples that they're applying, and they are getting success. But unfortunately, we are not following for most importantly in last 2 or 300 years. Now he wanted to remain the servants of the people, not the masters over them. So there are many examples, inshallah, we'll discuss. Let me briefly mention one of the examples. In Egypt, governor of Egypt was Amr bin As Razil Ta'ala anhu. He was a Sahabi, and his son had beaten one of the Coptic person, one of the Egyptian over here, over there. And that Egyptian person, he came to Hazrat Umar Razil Ta'ala anhu and complained. And he wrote a letter to Amr bin Al As. He called the governor Amr bin As and his son, and asked the one who was having a complaint that now you should beat publicly the son of Amr bin Al-As. And the statement he made that all of these people, they were free. How can you make them slaves? They are not your slaves. They are free people, and you are at their service. So we can see the you may say the demand of the caliphate, or the way he make the people accountable. Measures against the corruption, that was very much intact at that time. And for that there was a specific department, and that was head by Muhammad bin Maslima. Each and everything was recorded, and documents were maintained, and financial accountability that was assured. And on the occasion of Hajj every year, all the public officers, they would gather over there. All the account details, they were maintained, and openly each and everything was discussed. Muhammad bin Maslima, he was the head of the accountability department, and whenever he used to visit any of the province, people would fear, and mostly the government officials, and they would consider that maybe there's a complaint. So he had a strong grip on the system in that way. Another important feature, that is not only the feature of the caliphate, but after that, even Umayyads and Abbasids and even Ottomans, they continued that judiciary and executive, they were separate. It means that judiciary was totally separate, and executive authority like government officials and even governors and even the caliph, all of them, they were accountable in the court. And they could not change a judge, or they could not appoint a judge, or they could not interfere in any matter of judiciary. So in each and every province, each and every district, a common judge or judge of a small court, he could call even the governor, or even Hazrat Umar Razila Ta'ala Anhu. So there are a few examples that even Hazrat Umar Razila Ta'ala Anhu, he was called in the court. But governors and other officials, there are many examples that they were called in the court. So justice, that was a main feature of his caliphate. There was no political pressure, and civil and criminal cases, they were dealt in the courts, and they were decided just in a short time. These are the points you can discuss, or you can study at home, because we have short time. So I will be trying to move a little faster. Uh, in that system, proof of burden, or burden of proof, that was on the complaint, and burden of oath, that was on the defendant. So that is the way which is mentioned in the Quran. This is the criteria for judges: piety, scholarship, intelligence, integrity, and sound judgment. Most famous judges: Zaid ibn Sabit, Abdullah ibn Masood, Qazi Shureh, Jamil, and many others. And Chief Justice was Hazrat Ali Razila Talanu in his time period. And Hazrat Ali Razila Talanu was also the military commander, you may say, or in Medina there was a military school where soldiers were trained. So head of that school was Hazrat Ali Razila Talanu. Somebody might ask, he was a very brave person. Why didn't he lead armies? Basically, he was the member of Majlis Shura. So all important people, those who were members of Majlis Shura, they were not sent as the military commanders. So as he was very good in military, he was a genius of warfare. So he was given the responsibility of running the military school, training school, and also chief justice of the whole of the Khilafah. Further, you can see that how did he work for educational development? He opened madrasas or schools, you may say, or even he made some universities. He made two new cities, Kufa and Basra. And in Kufa, he opened a big university and he sent Abdullah ibn Masood over there. And he wrote a letter at that time. He said he is such a knowledgeable person that I need him over here, but I wanted to promote knowledge. That's why I'm sending him over here. So please, he wrote to the people of Kufa, try to get as much as knowledge possible from Hazrat Abdullah ibn Masood. From that university, after a century, a famous scholar, he was the part of that university, and he was Noman ibn Sabit, or you may say Abu Hanifa. So basically, Abu Hanifa, he was connected in that way to Abdullah ibn Masood and to that university, which was basically started by Hazrat Umar Razila Talano. So you can see the details. He made it compulsory that some of the surahs should be remembered to everybody. These are the details. Further, he focused on Arabic grammar, literature, and syntax of the Quran. Another important thing was hadith. He worked for that as well. He sent Sahaba, as mentioned, Abdullah ibn Masud to Kufa, Maqil ibn Yasar to Basra, Abdullah ibn Maqil to Basra as well, and some others to different parts of Islamic Khilafah. So that knowledge should be promoted, most importantly, Quran and Hadith knowledge. For Quran, he sent different Sahaba, different Qaris of the Quran to whole of the Khilafah. uh, Most importantly, the newly converted people for them. And let's move forward to the important things. I mentioned the setup of the Khilafah that I've discussed. Now the provinces, Makkah, Medina, they were province. Iraq, Basra, Kufa. Upper Tigris and Euphrates and Jazeera, they were the province. Syria, Palestine, Egypt, Upper Egypt, and there were two provinces, and Khorasan, Azerbaijan, and Fars. So in that way, it was divided into 12 provinces. Accountability, I discussed about Muhammad bin Maslima, and he would not hesitate to dismiss any of the official, any of the governor, uh, anybody who did not follow the laws. Furthermore, let's move forward a little. His welfare projects, they are very famous. He made new canals, especially in Iraq and Iranian parts, and he maintained that way irrigation, water supply, and he established new canals. He improved drinking water facilities and made a canal from Basra, and other details are over here. Famous canals are Al Ubula River Canal and Al Makil River Canal, which promoted agricultural activities in these areas which were barren before that. Further, we can see that he introduced new departments, he made new departments, he organized census, means counting of the people, and he promoted equal rights in whole of the Khilafah. Most importantly, the minorities, he was very careful about their needs. Kufa, Basra, I mentioned new cities were made. Fustat was a new city, it was made, and these cities were also the cantonments as well. Masjid Haram was enlarged in his time, Masjid Nabawi was enlarged, and in that way, he did many tasks which were more connected to the well being of the common people.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walka.
I think Miss Nosheen is also there, Sir Naeem is also, and you're also. Please send message in your groups that if students want to join, they have to write their name. Like,
Sure.
I can see there are people in the lobby, but the names are not visible. Like one is Redmi Note 9 and one is OnePlus Nord. So I can't, yani we can't
Of
accept them
course.
in the meeting.
Of course. Of
Yeah,
course.
please send message if they want to join, then we will accept them if their name
Okay.
is there.
Okay.
Thank
We
you
can have
so
a break
much.
of 2 minutes. 2 minutes break,
Yeah, yeah, please.
and
Yeah,
after that we will continue, inshallah.
thank you.
Welcome. Okay, I think we should move forward. All these details are related to the administration of Hazrat Umar Razil Anhu. It's a very detailed topic, but I will try to complete in a short time. Batul Mal, that was also one of the important features. He regulated Batul Mal. It was financial department, you may say, and the main purpose was to work for the public welfare and to maintain state finance. And allowances were set for, most importantly, poor people, unprivileged people, and even for the old people, or old people, non-Muslim old people as well. And he set allowances for everybody, for the family of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, for Sahaba Ikram, and most importantly, he set categories in that way. Those who were more close to Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they were given like a huge or big allowance for their services. So he categorized in that way, कि, relatives of Prophet ﷺ, those who participate in the Battle of Badr, Uhud. So in that way, allowance was set for everybody. And he was so much careful about that, that once a camel lost, that was Batul Mal camel. So he himself went over there and he searched himself. These were the territories, the part of the Khilafah. More than 400 and 4,050 cities they were annexed that I mentioned earlier. And let's move forward. Khalid bin Walid, you know that he was a military commander. Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah, he was a military commander. He made military reforms as well, and he regulated the army, and he made it a state department. Before him, during the time of Abu Bakr Razil Talanu, army was not regulated in that way. Different tribes, they would send their armies and they were working under their command, but there was not a regular army. Hazrat Umar Razil Talanu established a regular army for the first time, and he appointed divisions, officers, and in that way he made rules and regulations, and he prepared a standing army and also the reserve force. Salaries they were given in cash, allowances were also given, and mainly they were distributed in the harvest season, and each and everything that was done systematically during his time. Furthermore, we can discuss about the problems. Two of the main problems emerged during the Caliphate of Hazrat Umar Razil Anhu. And in both of the problems, he played very vital role in maintaining the system and the setup and to work for the well-being of the people. One of them was a great famine, It happened in 637, 638 CE. That was drought and famine. There was scarcity of food. There were no rains at the time, and it was possible that many of the people they would die because of hunger and disease. Most importantly, in the region of Arabia. So he wrote letters to all the governors, most importantly Syria, Palestine, and Iraq, and he declared a state emergency. And just in a short time, all the governors, Abu Ubaidah bin al-Jarrah and other governors, they responded, and in a short time, that issue was solved. And he himself personally took care of that matter and personally visited around the areas in Hijaz, Makkah, Medina, and other areas. And he personally worked for the well-being of the people. And he hosted personally meals for them. State provided meals for them, for all the peoples living in these territories. That was a huge area. Many people they were affected, thousands of people, but he saved the lives. It is mentioned that 1 lakh people they attended these meals. Usually, once in a day, a meal was provided to 1 lakh people around that, and ultimately it ended in 639 CE. So, because of his administration, because of his attentiveness, because of his quick action, he saved the lives of almost around 1 lakh people. Their lives were saved because of Hazrat Umar's quick action. Another problem which emerged during his time that was a plague. It's a disease, and because of that disease, many of the people they passed away. It was mostly in Syria and Palestine, and Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Anhu, he reached Ilat, that was a territory in Syria, and Abu Ubaidah bin al-Jarrah, he informed him about the seriousness of that disease. He wrote Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah and called him to Medina. But Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah, he said, no, I will not come to Medina at this time because here's a disease and I know that you want me to be there to protect me or my life. But I would like to be with my people, be with my soldiers, and he died ultimately because of that disease. Another military commander, his name was Yazid bin Abu Sufyan, he also died because of that disease, and thousands of the people they died because of that disease, and ultimately it was over after 1 year. So 25,000 Muslims they died in Syria because of that disease. But Hazrat Umar Razila Ta'ala he instructed that like in today's time, you know that quarantine, so it was done even the time of Hazrat Umar Razila Ta'ala anhu. He said that those who are inside the city they will not leave the city, and those who are outside they will not travel to that city which is affected by plague. But he controlled that disease in a short time because of his exemplary leadership and crisis management. So these two incidents they are famous. Or if they are asked you the problems faced by Hazrat Umar Razilullah Ta'ala, so these two are the main problems during his reign. For welfare, there are many examples that he personally visited the streets of Medina by the night. There are different incidents you will find in detail in these notes. Once it happened that he was looking around and he saw a person with a family, with his family who was in need, and he personally provided them food. He was asked by his servant that, okay, let me help you, but he said, no, you will not take my burden in the hereafter. So let me do myself. So in that way, he was accountable and he was looking for the well-being of the common people. So this is a very detailed topic, so it is not possible to cover in detail. So you can see the notes and the book or anything you can use, which whatever that is easy for you to complete this topic. Now, shortly or briefly, I will try to explain one more 4 marks question about the Caliphate of Hazrat Umar Razila Talanu. Then we will move forward to the Caliphate of Hazrat Usman Razila Talanu. I will try to explain how to write the answer. You can see a question over here. In your opinion, what was the most important feature of Hazrat Umar Razila Anhu's administration? Give reasons for your answer. So you know that you need to give reasons and you need to identify the most important feature. So as you need to give reasons and you need to mention which one is the most important, so you need to evaluate that. You need to compare that. And I mentioned earlier, you need to identify the reason, you need to develop that reason and then evaluate the reason, and then you need to analyze the reason for good marks. So at least there should be two reasons. Suppose if we say that the most important feature of his administration was justice. So how we will write the answer? Let's see. You can give the reasons, okay, why justice is an important feature of the time of Hazrat Umar Razil Ta'ala. No, you can mention that it shows that equality before law. So you can identify the reason, okay, if you're writing one important aspect of Umar's administration, that everyone was equal before the law. If you're writing this much, it means you have identified one of the reasons to support that justice was the most important feature. How to develop that point? For that, you can mention that Umar Azila Talanu ensured that justice was applied to all people, regardless of their status. Governors, officials, ordinary citizen were all subject to the same law. You can further mention any governor or official committed injustice, he was investigated and punished. Even powerful individuals were not allowed to misuse authority. If you're giving this much detail about this point, equality, it means you are developing your point. But for good marks, you need to analyze and evaluate, and you can relate that to today's time as well. So you can analyze this point, equality, that this system prevented corruption and ensure fairness in the society. People felt secure knowing that the government would treat them equally and that their complaint would be heard. So if you are relating in that way, okay, fairness and trust in the government was built in that way. So it means you are analyzing. You can relate to today's time, today's modern democratic societies or the states. They also emphasize the rule of law, meaning that even presidents, ministers, powerful individuals must obey the law. When leaders are not accountable, corruption and injustice increases in that society. So in that way, you are analyzing. Furthermore, you are going for evaluation. You may mention that, therefore, equality before the law strengthened the administration of Hazrat Umar Razali Ta'ala anhu and built a trust between the ruler and the people, and it made justice a key feature of Hazrat Umar's rule. You can relate with today's time in modern societies, countries with strong legal systems and accountability, like independent courts or anti-corruption system, tend to have more stable and successful government. You may mention that it shows that principles practiced by Umar Razal Talanu remain essential for good governance today. And you can mention that even in today's time, some of the governments they apply the same principles which were applied by Hazrat Umar Razal Talanu, and even they are called Umar laws in judicial terms even in today's time. So Hazrat Umar's laws they are still applied. So in that way you can mention how justice was an important feature which built trust in the people and the government, between government and the people, and it ensured equality. So if you're writing this much, it means you have identified one reason, you have analyzed that reason, and you have evaluated that. Second reason for choosing justice can be personal integrity and accountability. You can mention another important of Hazrat Umar's administration was personal honesty and strict accountability of the officials. That can also be related to justice. If all the people they are accountable and personal honesty is over there, it means it is run by the system of justice. You can mention Umar Razil lived a simple life, avoided luxury, though he was the ruler of a very vast empire. He closely monitored governors, regularly questioned them about their conduct, and complaints were answered. Investigation was there. If you are writing this much, it means you are developing the point. But if you are analyzing, you need to mention that this strict supervision ensure that officials perform their duties honestly and did not misuse public funds or authority. Today's even many governments create institutions such as audit authorities, anti-corruption agencies, parliamentary outside committees. All of them they are just to ensure the same thing. Monetary system should be strong and power should not be misused. So all of that is the part of justice. You know that in the beginning we chose justice as the main feature. So all these things they are related to justice in that way. This is the second reason. Now you can evaluate that reason. You mentioned that as a result people trusted the government and felt confident that justice would be upheld throughout the state. Similarly, when modern leaders show personal integrity and transparency, public trust in government increases. Without such accountability, corruption scandals often weaken governments and damage public confidence. You can mention that further in today's time, the most important, the strong governments which are successing nowadays, all of them they work for accountability, for justice, and most importantly, for building confidence in between government and common people. You can give the example of China that if you go 3 4 decades back in China, there were a lot of corruption, but government after revolution they took steps to control that corruption, and they applied strict punishments. Even capital punishment was enforced to punish those who were involved in corruption. And now you can see that all successful nations, Europeans or maybe the Chinese, all of them, the main focus is in that there should be justice in that society. And you can relate further even businesses grow over there, new firms are open, and that states, even though they are small, like Gulf states, they are small states, but when justice is enforced, that is ensured, so they became business hub and they get success in that way. So in that way, you can develop your points. So I hope this part is clear how to develop the answer. Other reasons are there, but we have short time. I will share the notes and you can further go in detail. But I wanted to show you that how to develop a B part. So I hope it is clear. Any question? If you have, you can send me. Uh, ma'am, what do you say? Should I take? Yes, Miss Noshin, you want to say something? Let me see.
Ji sir, Assalamu alaikum.
Oh, Sam.
Ji sir, I just wanted to say that you can ask the students to raise hand and then you can take the questions. So far, whatever we have done, especially this part B questions, if they have any question in their mind, they can ask now. Ask them to raise
Of
hand and
course.
then you can unmute them.
Of course, I think that's a good suggestion. So anybody who wants to ask me a question, any question till now, you can raise your hands, and then we'll unmute you, and you can ask a question. Or I'm giving you or maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes break. Meanwhile, you can ask questions, and then we'll move forward to the next topic. Caliphate was Uthman Razila Ta'ala. If you have any questions, you please ask or raise your hands. Okay, I think after 1 minute, inshallah, I will move forward. Meanwhile, if you have a question, you can raise your hand or you can even send me on WhatsApp. And after this, we'll continue to the next topic, that is Caliphate of Hazrat Usman Razil Ta'ala anhu.
Excuse me, sir.
Ji, ma'am.
Ji sir. Sir, I asked you one question, I think in school as well. Right now, maybe we have more participants, so we can discuss that. In when we are writing the examples of modern day, um, can we write the name of the country? Can we mention that, or
Uh,
is it acceptable in Cambridge or not?
if we are talking about something positive, then it is better. Okay, we should mention that. But if there is something negative, so we can say in some countries or maybe some organization, so it is better we should not point out that. But for positive things, we can point out. Otherwise, can we they consider it? Okay, we should specify the things so that is much better. Like examples, one of the examiners or the head of the Cambridge, once she was discussing that at that time, there was a famous incident that maybe that was Australian or maybe Canadian Prime Minister. He was walking over there in the mall and coffee fell on the floor and he himself cleaned that. So she mentioned that even if you are quoting the examples of non-Muslims, those who are following these principles of humanity or like that, Islamic rules, so they accept these examples. Similarly, once an examiner or the head of the Cambridge, Nigat Bajwa, she said कि we see in B parts के students they mention कि what to do, but they don't mention how to do. For example, she said कि students they say कि we should be humble, we should show mercy to each and everyone, we should be merciful. These are the statements they give, but they do not mention कि how that is possible. And she mentioned that was a hot season. Even students can mention that nowadays it's a hot season. If you are keeping a bowl of water for birds, or we are feeding the birds, that can be the example. Or similarly, if we are moving on the road and we see over there some animals, those who need our help, so we are helping them. We are calling even the animal protection. So this type of examples they consider more. And most importantly, if you're giving examples from your own daily life, maybe from your school setup, so they consider that much valuable because they are practically related to you. If you're talking about ijma and you are discussing that in your school, how you choose a leader on the basis of consensus of the whole class, maybe the class prefect or a head boy or head girl. So, in that way, if you are giving examples which are more connected to our daily lives, they focus more on that. But what was missing in most of the answer, I have seen that students they mention what to do, but not how to do or the ways they can be applied in today's time. We have short time, so let me, I think, continue this topic. We can start. I think we have 45 minutes. I think we have at the moment. No? So we have enough time, I think. So one more example I would give you to make it more clear. Like suppose migration to Medina. In Medina, people, those who migrated, they were Muhajirin, and those welcomed them, they were Ansar. So we see that Ansar, they assimilated them in society. They were the immigrants, but they were not settled in camps or in a separate territory. They were assembled or assimilated in that society. They were accepted. They were given civil rights like the common, like the citizens of that state. So you can relate in today's scenario that in most of the countries nowadays, immigrants they are set in the camps, like in Syria or maybe in Egypt, or even you have seen that those who are migrating from Palestine, Muslim countries, they were not opening their border for them. But all of that is against the examples of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. On the other hand, you see the Western countries, European countries, they accommodate people, those who are immigrants, they give them rights and they accept their request to be the citizen of that state. They give them equal opportunities for work over there, for education. So in that way, you can relate examples. We are talking about migration or immigrants. So you can further develop that to immigrants can be of different types, like those who are migrating because of but these examples can be related to the immigrants of the warfare or maybe from a war zone people they are migrating. But you can extend it to further those who are migrating because of any other reasons, maybe educational migrations or vocational migrations. So as much as you are relating that to the social perspective or sociology or the terms of sociology, as much you are relating your answers, that could be a much better and stronger answer. You can mention that
Sir,
specifically. Yes, please, ma'am.
yeah, as you are just talking about migration, so like Islamic point of view, like if we take Islamic definition of migration, that's just only if we migrate for the sake of Islam, isn't it? So if it is financial reason or some other,
Of
so
course.
do we take it as migration?
Actually, when we see the hadith about migration, some people they ask Prophet Sallallahu about a person that he migrated just for other reasons. So Prophet mentioned that the one who migrated for the sake of Allah and the Prophet that is
Hmm.
actually immigrant. But if you are relating
Yeah,
the theme ke, how they were accepted in that society, in that scenario you can give the other examples
other
as. But
examples.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah,
really,
but we should, like, the student should be very clear that Islamic, that the order or the command that we have to migrate from a place should be only for the sake of religion, right? That's the Islamic concept. But like, if the people are moving from one place to another for some other reasons, so definitely that the other part, that how they should be welcomed, or how we welcome others who are coming to our countries for financial or other reasons, that definitely will follow the rules of Islam, like being hospitable and all that, right?
of
But
course.
the reward point of view, only the migration, what Allah commands is for the religion's sake.
Of course, for brotherhood, you can connect that. Okay, suppose we are Muslims and others are Muslims in America and Europe, and there
Yeah,
are students over there. They are going, so we should facilitate them, provide them accommodation, maybe on a cheap rent like that. So that can be
yeah, yeah.
read in that view.
Yes.
So I think we should start the next topic, Caliphate of Hazrat Usman Razil Ta'ala anhu. Just give me a minute. Let me open the document. Then, inshallah, we'll move forward. So our next topic, that is the Caliphate of Hazrat Usman Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu. I will use these keynotes. They are good for revision, but for details you can see the detail notes. This is the document of the detail notes, but I will go briefly. Hazrat Usman Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu, the third rightly guided caliph. Uh, I mentioned previously, that whenever you're talking about any of the incident in history, or any of the historical personality, or when you're talking about the caliphs, the first thing should be that you should identify that who was that caliph, the first, second, third. So third caliph of Islam, third Rashidun or rightly guided caliph, and his khilafat started by third Muharram, 24th after Hijri, or you may say 6th November 644 CE, and he remained caliph for around 12 years, 18 Zulhijjah 35 Hijri, or 17th of June 656 CE. Or you can just mention कि he remained Khalifa, or his period started from 644 till 656 CE, or 24th or 23rd of Hijri till 35 after Hijri. Okay, so Hazrat Usman Razil Ta'ala anhu, he was chosen as a Khalifa. Let's see how he was elected. But before that, let's see. As I mentioned, ki third regarded Caliph, his time of rule, second cousin of Prophet Sallallahu, son-in-law, two of the daughters of Prophet Sallallahu, Hazrat Ruqayya and Kulsum, they were married to Hazrat Usman. A senior and noble companion, he was from Banu Hashim, and his caliphate, it included 12 years of time, but early years they were very good, and they were the best time of the Khilafah. But in last few years, 4 5 years, there were problems and rebellions. Inshallah, we'll discuss in detail. Election. Hazrat Umar Razila Ta'ala anhu, he when he was injured, he was worried ki how to choose, or how to select the coming caliph. Yes, Saad, you want to have a question, please? Yes, please. I have unmuted. You can say yes, please. I think he has no question. So, Hazrat Umar Razila Ta'ala, he was injured, and he made a committee of 6 members to choose the next Khalifa from Majlis Shura. It is mentioned that he saw a dream. In that dream, he saw that he had some pebbles on his hand, and he was looking for them, and he wanted to choose them. So from that, he got an idea that I should choose a few people, those who are the best one. So he chose Hazrat Ali Razil Ta'ala anhu, Hazrat Usman ibn Affan, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, Saad ibn Abi Waqqas, Zubair ibn Awam, and Talha ibn Ubaidullah. So you know that all of them, they are among the 10 blessed companions, and they were the most important companions at the time. So he made a committee, and he instructed that they have to make the decision in 3 days. Meanwhile, Abdurrahman ibn Auf, it is mentioned in books that he saw a dream, and he concluded from that dream that the coming caliph, who could be that, anyone could be that, he will face problems in his caliphate. So after that dream, he said, "Ki I will not be the part of that committee, and I don't want to be the Khalifa." Others, they said, "Ki now you can be a mediator, and you can work, or you can solve, or you can decide ki who should be the next Khalifa." So, how he decided, he first wanted to reduce the number of the people. So, he asked all of them, "Okay, you should vote for other Sahabi, other than you, whom you would like to vote." So, Hazrat Zubair Razila Ta'ala voted for Hazrat Ali. Hazrat Saad ibn Waqas voted for Usman Razila Ta'ala. Hazrat Usman voted for Hazrat Ali. Hazrat Ali voted for Usman Razila Ta'ala. So, ultimately, he concluded, and Hazrat Talha, he was not over there in that city at that time. So, he concluded that both of them got equal votes. Now, Abdurrahman ibn Auf, he had to vote for the final decision. So he decided the way that he went to the common people of Medina, and he asked them their opinion, what they think about both of them, Hazrat Ali Razila Ta'ala anhu and Hazrat Usman, because now they were the final nominees. So he came to know, and he mentioned that in Masjid Nabawi at the time of appointment, that I have discussed with the people of Medina, and I went to most of the people of Medina, and they were on the opinion that Hazrat Usman Razila Ta'ala anhu, he should be the Khalifa, and Hazrat Ali Razila Ta'ala anhu can be given chance after that. The reason was that in that society, tribal society, age was considered the most prominent factor for leadership. Hazrat Usman Razila Talanu, he was around 70 years old, and Hazrat Ali Razila Talanu, he was in like late 30s or maybe around 40s. So people, they said, we should choose Hazrat Usman. He should be given the chance to be the Khalifa, and in that way we will have a leadership for Hazrat Ali Razil Anhu after that. Maybe Hazrat Usman will survive for maybe 15 or 20 years, but after him, Hazrat Ali would be there to replace him. So it is better we should choose Hazrat Usman Razil Anhu. Secondly, people, as you know, that Usman Razil Anhu was a ghani and very generous person, and he used to spend a lot in the way of Allah, and he was a very rich person as well. So most of the people of Medina, they were helped by Usman Razil Anhu personally. So because of that, even they respected him, and in that way they voted for Usman Razil Anhu. You can see that Hazrat Usman Razila Ta'ala anhu, he was bought a well Bere Roma, and he devoted that for the people of Medina. So in that way, people of Medina, they were more inclined to Hazrat Usman Razila Ta'ala anhu, but they were thinking that Hazrat Ali will be the next choice after Usman Razila Ta'ala anhu, if he passed away or if he would be martyred. So ultimately, Hazrat Abdurrahman ibn Auf, he announced publicly by the third day that Hazrat Usman Razila Ta'ala anhu, he'll be the next Khalifa, and he discussed that in detail in Masjid Nabawi, and he asked Hazrat Ali, if I will choose you, will you follow the Quran and Sunnah? He said, of course. He asked similar question to Hazrat Usman Razila Ta'ala anhu, and he took the guarantee that whatever the decision I will make, you will follow that. So in that way, you can write an account of Hazrat Usman's election. A question you might have seen in the past paper. I think I should show you the questions before, also before I could continue the topic. Let me show you the questions. It will be much better, so you get an idea which type of questions can be in this chapter. You can see some of the questions. Uh, a question is over here that what major events took place during the Caliphate of Usman Razilullah Ta'ala anhu. So major events, that can be the question even for the other caliphs as well. So if this is the question, you need to mention election and battles and all important events. Further, another 10 marks question. What are the causes of revolt against Usman and charges? Three things you need to keep in mind: causes of revolt, events of revolt, and charges, or you may say allegations. So these three are separate. Mostly it happens that students they mix things in these topics. So causes of revolt and charges, but events of revolt they have not asked in this question. So if you are mentioning the events of revolt, it means that is irrelevant data over here. Let's move forward. Give an account of the election of Usman Razila Talanu, compilation of the Quran. This can be the question. Let's see for further. Write in detail about policy followed by Usman Ziltanon in expanding and maintaining the state. So, expansion policy, military policy, and maintaining the state means like administration. So, a question can be in that way as well. They're asking both the things: his military policy and his administrative policy. So, this can be the question. And in that way, you can see questions. You see charges and events of revolt. So over here, they are not asking the causes of revolt. Previously, I had shown you a question. Over there, asking the maybe the charges or causes of revolt. But in this question, they're not asking the causes of revolt. They're asking charges and events of revolt. So you need to be very careful while writing the answer. कि what they are asking. Are they asking the charges, causes of revolt, or events of revolt? If you are mentioning over here the causes of revolt, that will not be relevant in the answer. So now let's back to the topic again. I have discussed in detail about the election of Hazrat Usman Razila Talanu. If you follow the detailed notes, you can find more details about the topic. But as we have short time, so I'm just going briefly over here. Hazrat Usman Razila Talanu, he continued the policies of Hazrat Abu Bakr and Hazrat Umar Razila Talanu. That's the main feature of his Khilafah. During his Khilafah, Islamic state or Islamic Khilafah expanded in all the four directions: east, west, north, south. And he strengthened the administration, he built the navy, he compiled the Quran, he improved economic prosperity and public works. And in last few years, there was revolt or you may say opposition. All of that we will discuss in detail. Now, the first challenge which was faced by Hazrat Usman Razila Talanu, that was a Roman attack. But Hazrat Usman Razila Talanu responded very quickly. Let me connect that to the martyrdom of Hazrat Umar Razila Talanu. Basically, I mentioned earlier that the enemies they were Romans and the Persians. Now they had divided the task. Persians they eliminated or they martyred Hazrat Umar Razila Talanu, and the Romans they were also in communication with them. So when they saw that Hazrat Umar Razila Talanu had been martyred, so they thought that now the new leader will not be strong enough to fight with them. So they were looking for the collapse of the Islamic Khilafah. So that's why they attack on three of the provinces of the Islamic Khilafah: Egypt, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. All these three provinces they were captured by the Romans just after the martyrdom of Hazrat Umar Razila Anhu. Let me show you on the map as well. It will make it more clear. You can see over here this the map. This was a center of the Roman Empire, Constantinople, and here's the Mediterranean Sea. Muslims did not have any navy at that time. This part was Egypt, and this was Armenia and Azerbaijan. And all of these areas, they were the part of the Khilafah. So Romans, they were ruling in these areas. Heraclius, he was the emperor. He sent three armies. One of the army moved from here and it controlled Armenia by the land route. Other army also followed the land route and took control of Azerbaijan. And the third one, that was naval force. They moved from their coast, from here, Constantinople, and they had over there in sea, they were naval like settlements, like naval bases, uh, like Sicily, Crete, Rhodes. All of these areas, they were naval bases, Cyprus also. So Roman Navy, they attacked from here. They crossed the Mediterranean Sea and they took control of whole of the Egypt. Alexandria, the main city, all of these areas, they were controlled by the Romans just after the demise of Hazrat or martyrdom of Hazrat Umar Razila Talanu. They were thinking that the new leader will not be so powerful and we will be able to get our territories back. So they attack from both sea and land side. And I've explained, I think it's clear. Muslims had no naval force. But Hazrat Usman Azila Talanu, he took a decisive action. He sent three armies. Walid ibn Aqaba, he was sent to Armenia, Azerbaijan, Salman ibn Rabia to Armenia, and Amr ibn al-As to Egypt. Previously, we have studied that yesterday that Amr bin al-As, he was the conqueror of Egypt in the time of Hazrat Umar Razila Taala. So same person, Amr bin As, same commander, he was sent to Egypt. And these three commanders, just in few months, they took all these territories back. So that was, you may say, uh, a very strong decision, a very strong action, which you may say established Hazrat Usman Razila Taala as a strong leader. And I will connect that to the rebellions as well. Now, the enemies, Romans, Persians, and Jews, they were thinking that Hazrat Usman will be a weaker, or the new caliph will be a weaker caliph. He cannot be like Hazrat Umar. But Hazrat Usman proved to be a very strong caliph. And even we'll see after that, he started expansion. And he expanded the Khilafah much more than Hazrat Umar Razila Ta'ala anhu. So they then changed the plan. They went for the modern, or they say updated warfare, and then they made conspiracies, propaganda, and then they divided the Muslims. But before that, they were thinking कि by capturing the land, by using the military, they will be able to defeat the Muslims. So that is the basically scenario. Compilation of the Quran, that also happened in the around the first year or the start of the second year. And you know well that in Armenia, Azerbaijan, in Armenia, it happened that some of the people in the army, they were reciting the Quran, and there was an issue about the standardization of the Quran. So that we'll discuss in detail in the time in the chapter of the compilation of the Quran. But you can just remember Huzaifa bin Yaman, he reported, and Hazrat Usman Razila Talanu, he made a committee, and 12 people, they were main leaders of that committee. These are a few important people, and he standardized the Quran according to the Quraysh accent. Details, inshallah, we'll study in the topic compilation and standardization of the Quran. Now, briefly, let's discuss about his arrangements. Administrative reforms. Basically, these reforms were in the second year of Hazrat Usman's caliphate. Hazrat Umar Azila Talanu, he made a will that the new caliph, that could be anybody, new caliph, he didn't know at that time, but the new caliph will not change the policies or will not change any administrative structure for the first year. For the whole 1 year, he will not be able to make any changes. He will not change any governor. He will not change the boundaries of any province. So he did not change anything for the first year. But in second year, he made some changes, some administrative changes. He united Syria, Palestine, and Jordan. These were three separate territories, three separate provinces. But Hazrat Usman Azila Talanu merged them into a single province. And he made uh, Hazrat Mawiya governor of all these provinces. So Hazrat Mawiya was made a governor, and these three provinces were made a single province. Egypt, it was divided into two parts, Lower and Upper Egypt. So he annexed them and made a single province. After that, maybe in the third or fourth year of his caliphate, North Africa, it was conquered, and he made it a new province. Total number of the provinces, they were 12, like same like Hazrat Umar Azil Tananu, but he annexed them, and in that way, though there was expansion, but the number of the provinces, that was 12. And provincial administration, same like Hazrat Umar Azil Talanu, he continued the same post like governor, chief secretary, and defense secretary, all that. And same like Hazrat Umar, there were 100 districts, more than that. We'll discuss that in detail in the administration of Hazrat Usman Razila Ta'ala anhu. Now, after getting the territories back, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Egypt, then he went for expansion. After Roman attack, let's discuss in detail expansion in the south. Southern side of Arab, or the, let me say, if you count that from Hijaz, the southern side, that was North Africa, northern part of Africa, that was in south. Let me show you on the map, it will make it further more clear. Okay, this is Egypt, and this whole part that was North Africa. Romans, they had attacked from this seaside, and this area was also under the Roman control. And over here in Tripoli, there was a military base of the Romans. So Hazrat Usman Razila Ta'ala anhu, he was suggested, and he himself realized that if there's a Roman base over here, so it is possible that Romans can come from the seaside, and even they can attack from this side as well. So that's why he agreed to move forward and expand the Khilafah and took control of all these areas. So, as I mentioned yesterday, that Khilafah was expanded only when it was needed. Unnecessarily, we can see the time of Hazrat Umar Razila Ta'ala anhu. Hazrat Muawiyah asked him कि we can make a naval force, but he said कि no, I don't want to take risk unnecessarily. If there is an attack from the seaside, from the Mediterranean Sea, then we will consider that option. Now, in the first year of Hazrat Usman's Caliphate, this happened, and Romans the attack. Now, two decisions, major decisions were taken by Hazrat Usman Razila Ta'ala anhu. One was to build a navy over here, and second was to expand the Khilafah in these areas, Libya and Tripoli and today's Morocco till here. So that we'll discuss in detail. North Africa was ruled by Byzantine Empire, and Strait of Africa, uh, that was their colony, you may say it. Gregory the Patriarchal, or Jarir, was in Arabic. He was the governor, and he was also a relative of Heraclius, the Roman emperor. And his territory was from Egypt to Morocco. You can see over here, from Egypt to Morocco, whole of the North Africa. And over here also was the Roman Empire. You can see Spain, France, Italy, and all other parts of Europe. They were the Roman Empire. So that was a threat. Gregory was a Roman governor, and it was on the borders of the Islamic Khilafah now, and there was another threat from the seaside. So Muslims, they decided to take action. Reasons you can see over here, as I mentioned earlier. Tripoli was a stronghold of Byzantine military base. And in the time of Hazrat Umar, Hazrat Amr bin al-As, he has captured the coastal areas, but interior areas, they were not permitted by Hazrat Umar Razila Talanum. Now, Hazrat Usman Razila Talanum, he made a governor over there, Abdullah ibn Saad ibn Abi Sara. He was made the governor of Egypt. And he asked permission to expand the Khilafah in the North Africa, and he was permitted by Hazrat Usman Razil Talanu. Abdullah ibn Saad ibn Abi Sarah, he was also one of the relatives, and we will see in coming sessions that the rebellion against Hazrat Usman Razil Talanu, one of the main reasons was that people, they wanted to remove Abdullah ibn Saad ibn Abi Sarah. Another important thing we'll see during these sessions or discussion about this caliphate of Hazrat Usman is Latano's topic, that mainly the people, those who were the heroes of the Muslims, those who were the conquerors, and those who annexed many of the territories, and those who were the military commanders, they were basically blamed to be the relatives of Usman Razil anhu, and people, they try to defame them. So one of them was Abdullah ibn Sa'd ibn Abi Sarah. He was the governor of Egypt. And previously, let me discuss another issue which is not mentioned over here in brief notes. Governor of Egypt was Amr bin al-As Razila Talano. And Abdullah ibn Sa'd ibn Abi Sarah, he was the treasury officer. But a dispute arose between Abdullah ibn Sa'd ibn Abi Sarah, or you can say briefly Ibn Abi Sarah, or Abdullah bin Saad, and Amr ibn al-As. And this matter was brought to Hazrat Usman Razila Talanu, and ultimately he decided to remove Amr bin al-As and he made Abdullah bin Saad the governor. Previously, he was a treasury officer. So some of the people they made a propaganda that he preferred his relative, and he removed a companion of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So from here also you can connect the things how they led to you may say a propaganda ultimately. Okay, this issue was discussed in Majlis Shura and permission was granted. In the 27th AH, Abdullah bin Saad, he marched with the army towards Tripoli and deeper into the North Africa. And the main battle over here, that was Battle of Sufitullah, and Muslim army met the Byzantine forces. This is in today's modern Tunisia. Sufitullah was a name of a place. And Gregory's army, that was more than 1 lakh 20,000 or maybe around 2 lakh soldiers. And Muslims, they were surrounded in the battlefield in a circle formation, and they were in serious danger. And Muslims were about to be defeated in this battle. So let me elaborate it further, though in brief notes it's not mentioned, that this battle continued for more than a month or maybe around 2 months, that there was no major progress. So Abdullah ibn Sa'd ibn Abi Sarah, he wrote a letter to Hazrat Usman Razila Talan for reinforcement. So Hazrat Usman Razila Taala sent an army, maybe around 1,000 or 2,000. In that army, many important Sahaba from like Badri Sahaba, and most importantly, Hazrat Hassan Razila Taala, Hazrat Hussain Razila Taala, and Abdullah ibn Zubair Razila Taala. All of them, they were the part of that army. And Abdullah ibn Zubair, he was the commander of that reinforced army. So that army joined, and in the final phase of the battle, Muslim army was surrounded, and it was seen that maybe they would be defeated. But Abdullah ibn Zubair, with his elite soldiers or maybe the commandos, he decided to attack directly on the Gregory. He fought with bravery. He made his way in between the lines, and ultimately he reached to Gregory, and he attacked directly to Gregory, and he killed him. So as a result of that, Romans, they were defeated. So that was a great example of bravery set by Abdullah ibn Zubair, that he attacked the center of the army, Roman army, and ultimately he killed their leader. As a result, Muslims, they won the battle and they moved forward to North Africa and all other territories, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, and even some of the parts of the Spain, they were conquered or they were annexed by the Muslims. Then Hazrat Usman Razila Anhu made a historical statement about the Romans. He said, ki if they will come again from that Spanish side, then I will attack Spain and in France if it is necessary, and then we will move forward. You can see on the map, na, okay, there's small sea over here, and then Spain, and then France, and Italy, and then Germany, and today's Turkey. So Hazrat Usman said, ki if they will come from this side again, we'll attack on Spain, and then we'll move to France and Italy, and then we'll move to their capital and we'll capture all these territories. But it never happened. So Muslims, they didn't move from this place ahead in that time. And later on in Umayyad Caliphate, it was conquered. So I hope this topic is clear. The conquest of North Africa. I hope it's clear. Now, expansion in the eastern part. East, you can see this part over here in today's Afghanistan and Pakistan and Iranian territories. All of them, they were on the eastern side of the Caliphate. So these areas previously they were the part of the Persian Empire, and Sassanid forces, they were defeated. Their king or emperor Yazdjerd, he was killed, and some of the forces, they were still over there, and they had some of the territories. So Ahnaf ibn Qais was sent over there. He defeated all the Persian forces in today's Afghanistan, Herat, Kabul, Ghazni, and all of these areas, they were annexed to the Khilafah. River Oxus or Amu, that was in previous language, or maybe Mawra un Nahar, that was a specific term for used for these areas in Turkmenistan. If you see the map, all these territories over here in like Mongolian side, there was a river moving in that way. It was called Amu River or River Oxus. So Muslim armies enter into these territories in Central Asia, and they reach till Mongolia and borders of China during this time period under the command of Ahnaf ibn Qais and Abdullah ibn Amr. Abdullah ibn Amir also conquered many of the territories. First, Kirman, Sistan, Khurastan, Tranxania, Afghanistan, and further Kabul, Hisra, Ghazni, and many parts in today's Balochistan and even today's Karachi, till their hub area. Muslim armies reach over there to the borders of Sindh, but they didn't move forward because these were the only territories which were the part of the Persian Empire. They didn't move to the Indian states or to the Chinese state because there was no threat from that side, and Muslims were safe. And they never had any desire to expand the Khilafah, just to colonize the areas, just to expand for the sake of expansion. Uh, Further, we see in the western side, that is much more important. In western side, we see the Mediterranean Sea that was in the west of the Khilafah. In Mediterranean Sea, as I mentioned earlier, these were the naval bases like Sicily, Crete, and Malta, and some other bases. Hazrat Usman Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu, he appointed Hazrat Mawiya bin Abu Sufyan. He was the younger brother of Yazid bin Abu Sufyan, and he was governor from the time of Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu. And he had suggested before to Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala to make a navy, but he didn't agree. But now, after the Byzantine attacks from the seaside, now eventually Hazrat Usman Raziyallahu Ta'ala he agreed and made him the commander. Hazrat Mawi Raziyallahu Ta'ala and Abdullah bin Saad. Hazrat Muawiyah was the governor of Syria, and Hazrat Abdullah ibn Saad, he was the governor of Egypt. So both of them, they were given the task to build a naval force, and both of them, they made around 5 to 6 hundred vessels each. So now an army was prepared around 1,000 or maybe 1,200 vessels or warships, and it was decided that now Muslim army will move forward in the Mediterranean Sea, and they will capture all the naval bases. So strong navy, that was the demand of that time. A B part question can be, though it is not in the past paper, that to build a naval force in the time of Usman Razila Talanu, was that the need of time? Or do you agree with that statement? Okay, it was a need of time to build a naval force. That can be a 4 marks question. So in answer, you can mention the scenario that how Romans, they had naval bases in Mediterranean Sea and how they attacked in 644 and 645. So you can connect that it was a need of time and for proper defense or to you may say maintain you may say uphold over there, it was needed. So Hazrat Mawiya and Abdullah bin Saad, they were given this responsibility. But there was a policy that those who wanted to join the naval expedition voluntarily, they were asked to join. There were no forceful like employment. Nobody was forced to join. Only the soldiers who wanted to join. So this navy was built in a short time, maybe in 2 years, and in 649, this navy moved forward in Mediterranean Sea, and they took control of Cyprus. There was small navy over there, a garrison, naval garrison over there, but they were defeated, and the whole of the territory, Cyprus, that was an island. It was now taken by the Muslims. There were common people over there. They made a treaty with the Muslims, annually paying 7,000 dinars. Now Cyprus became the Muslim territory. It was the first naval conquest of the Muslims, you may say, and it was very important strategically. After that, Muslim navy moved forward and they took control of Crete, Rhodes, Malta, and Sicily. All of these islands, they were captured just in 2 3 years. And ultimately, an year before the demise of Hazrat Usman Razil Ta'ala anhu, before his martyrdom, a battle took place. It is called the Battle of Mars or Battle of Phoenix. So this battle was very important in history, and in past papers you will not see any question from this battle, but this is the most predicted question which they did not ask in any past paper, but it is possible they may ask in any future exam because historically it has the same importance as like the Battle of Yarmouk, Battle of Qadsiya, Battle of Nihawan. So it is a big battle. And after this battle, the course of history was changed, and Roman monopoly on sea, you may say, or naval hegemony of the Romans, that was demolished after this battle. So a detailed account is needed. Uh, Let me see. These points, they are brief. Okay, I think they are fine. Let me explain from brief notes, but in detail, let me show you detailed notes as well. These are the detailed notes of this battle. You can study at home from these detailed notes, but I will discuss briefly over here because of short time. But I think topic will be very much clear. So, Battle of Phoenix, or is called the Battle of Mars as well. It took place near the coast of Lycia, modern Turkey, and in Mediterranean Sea. It's also known as the Battle of Mast or Zat Savari because of the large number of ships they were involved. And masts, basically, they were like uh, huge flags, you may say. They were on the upper side of the boats. Basically, they were used for propelling that ships because of they were moving by the wind. So that part of the ship which was related to that specific function, that was called masts of a ship. So basically, there were so many ships, and in the whole battlefield, there were masts of the ships. That's why this battle is called the Battle of Masts. Background I discussed earlier, all the things I have discussed. Byzantine wanted to maintain control over the Mediterranean Sea, and they could attack from the Mediterranean Sea. That's why it was needed. Muslims' aim was to challenge the Byzantine naval dominance and to defend the Muslim territories, most importantly, North Africa and Egypt and Syria, because they were exposed to a naval threat from the Mediterranean Sea. And now the emperor, previously Heraclius, he was emperor, but now after his death, Constance too, now he was emperor. In this battle, it was so important that Constance too, he himself led the battle. He himself came to the open battlefield with his navy. And from the Muslim side, commanders were the Mawiyah, Abdullah ibn Sa'd ibn Abi Sarah, and Abul Awaras Solami. He was very famous naval commander. Or you may say he was the first naval commander who was appointed as the naval commander. But Hazrat Mawiyah, governor of governor of uh, Syria, and Hazrat Abdullah bin Saad, governor of Egypt, they also were the part of that naval force. Muslims, they had about 200 ships, but I think that's a mistake. Mostly, it is mentioned they had around 1100 or 1200 ships, and Byzantines they had around 1500 ships. So that is a mistake over here. I will correct that. How did that battle took place? Uh, both of the armies they met.
Sir,
Yes, please.
just I want to confirm one thing. One other hand is also raised, Ayan.
Yes,
Acha.
please.
Like, this number, as you just said, that, okay, these many ships are mentioned here, but mostly this is authentic. So, like, in certain
Was
matters, like maybe these numbers especially are different at different places, right? So, for example, I tell my students, okay, consult with me if you are confused about some number, and we can tell them. But what if, like, the students are writing different numbers, and they
okay.
are existing in different sources.
Okay.
So do they accept that
Actually, they accept all the numbers which are in any source,
mentioned in the books? Yeah.
any authentic source.
Okay.
But the reason
Mm-hmm.
is that why the numbers are different. Muslim numbers they are confirmed from Muslim sources, but the numbers of the enemies they are quoted by different narrators from Muslim sides. Basically, it happened that Roman army and the Persian army, their soldiers, they were like elite soldiers, elite army. And with each army, like a soldier, and they were very wealthy soldiers, most of them. So they used to take their servants with them as well. Like a soldier is traveling, so he would have a tent and two, three servants. And in that way, other like logistic staff, you may consider them, they were also the part of the army. And furthermore, those armies, the Romans and the Persians specifically, they had big war machines like that. They were the superpowers at that time. So they had many, many people, thousands of the people, just to take care of the artillery or their like horses and their servants as well. So that's why number is different. Maybe if armies mention like 90,000, 1 lakh, that was the actual army. But the supporting staff that could take that to 2 lakh number in that way. But the Muslims,
Yeah.
they were the
Even
purely
for
soldiers.
example, yeah, for example, sir, Battle of Siffin, there also, like Hazrat Ali and Hazrat Amir Muawiyah's
Armies.
army strength is different in different sources.
So basically, if you're quoting any number which is mentioned in any book, they accept that.
Mm.
But
Yeah, yeah.
if somebody is
Even
quoting,
I told the same to my students because, like, sometimes it becomes very difficult to, come to the exact number or the
okay,
most authentic number. So, definitely, students, wherever they are studying, so if it exists somewhere, they will accept, but don't, produce
they,
your own
of
numbers.
course, of course, of course. And secondly, nowadays they use modern statistics as well. They see the battlefield and the capacity of the soldiers in that way. So mostly in the numbers which are quoted in the modern sources, they can be more reliable. But sometimes I have seen that they try to decrease the number of the enemies, specifically the Westerns. They try to show that their armies were also a little weak. Like if they were 1 lakh, so they show that they were 60,000, and the Muslim they were 30,000. So that can also be an exaggeration. So, but if you're quoting any number which is in any book, maybe the Islamic sources or maybe the modern sources, so that is fine. So let's move forward. Two of the ships they met at the place at which I mentioned earlier, Lycia, and a battle took place, and sea condition that was rough, and it was difficult to fight over there. So they connected all the ships together. They tied them together. So in that way, all the ships they were connected, and hand-to-hand battle took place on the ships or the decks of the ships, and it continued for many hours, and ultimately it was a very fierce and bloody war, and ultimately Muslims they were victorious, and Romans they were defeated, and they had a very heavy loss. And even their king Constance too, he fled from the battlefield disguising as a soldier. With great difficulty, he protected his life, and their army was routed out, and ultimately Muslims they won this battle. And after this battle, Muslims they took control of whole the Mediterranean Sea. Now that was a great victory. After this victory, now Muslims they were ruling on the sea as well. Now Muslims they were the superpower on the surface of earth, and world order, you may say, Muslim world order, that was dominant on the world. There was no other power which could be equal by any means. Romans they had a advantage of the navy, but now their navy was destroyed by the Muslims, and Muslims they emerged as the naval force in the region, and their navy that was totally demolished by the Muslims, and all these territories in the Mediterranean Sea, you can see over here in the map. From here till here, whole the Mediterranean now it was under Muslim control after this battle. So in that way, in the western side, all these areas they were controlled by the Muslims, and one side is left from all the four dimensions that we'll complete, and inshallah we'll complete today's class. That was the northern side. In northern side, you can see over here in the map, these areas were in the northern side. Today's Central Asia, Samarkand, Tashkent, Turkmenistan, Khorasan, Turkestan, all these areas they were taken by the Muslims, and Abdullah ibn Amir and Walid ibn Aqaba they were the main commanders. So, significance Persian Empire that was totally destroyed in the time of Osman Razil Talano, North Africa, Central Asia, and Mediterranean Sea. all that was captured by the Muslims, controlled by the Muslims. First navy was made by Hazrat Usman Razil Tananu, and Muslims they became the major sea power in the Mediterranean Sea and eastwardly Central Asia, North Africa, all the important parts of the civilized world they were taken by the Muslims. Roman Empire they had territories like today's Turkey and Rome, but in other parts of the West, they were only the tribes, barbarous tribes, they were living in today's France and Italy and UK, England, all these areas. They were not considered as the civilized territories. You might have seen maybe in ancient like series about that, Vikings or others like that, how they were living a life like a barbarous life. They were just the barbarous tribes. Civilized world that was in these areas like Asia and you may say the whole of the parts of all the areas which were the parts of the Rashidun Caliphate. So whole of the civilized world that was in the hands of Rashidun Caliphate, India and China, they were not attacked because there was no threat from that side. Even in the time of Hazrat Usman Razila Ta'ala, he sent some ambassadors. He sent Hazrat Saad ibn Abi Waqqas Razila Ta'ala to the Chinese emperor with gifts, and he requested to the Chinese emperor that we have Muslims over here in your provinces, Xinjiang and other provinces. So if you allow them to build a mosque over there, so Chinese king he accepted the gifts. He in return gave gifts for Hazrat Usman Razil Tananu, and he allowed to build a mosque. So Hazrat Saad ibn Abi Waqqas Razil Tananu he built a mosque over there in the time of Hazrat Usman Razil Anhu, and still till today's time that mosque is over there. So friendly relations they were built with all the other powers, Chinese and Indians, because they were not a threat from that side. And the Roman Empire, the Persian Empire, they started enmity just from the time of Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr Siddiq's time, and there was a warfare. That's why ultimately they were destroyed. I hope there's no question. Any question? If you have, you can ask me. Otherwise, we can conclude for today's class, and we'll continue from here in the next class, inshallah. Any question? Mr. Fid, you want to say something or you want to share something? And then we can conclude.
I want to thank you. Thank you
Welcome.
so much.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Most welcome, man.
Hopefully it benefits and our
Inshallah.
student get benefit of it, inshallah.
Inshallah. So we are winding up our class over here. Inshallah, in next class we'll continue the Caliphate of Usman Razil Ta'ala anhu, and then we'll move forward towards Hazrat Ali's Caliphate, inshallah. So Ayan, you want to say
Sir,
something?
yes, Ayan had a question before.
Yes, please.
We need to.
Yes, Ayan, please, you can ask. I think you're unmuted now.
No. Where is he?
I think he's not seen over here.
He is not here in the chat now. He is not in Zoom. Ayan, if you are here, can you please raise your hand again so we can unmute you? No, he left. I think he's not here now.
Okay, you can send me your questions even after class, and we can start the next class with your questions, inshallah. So, acha Munib Ahmed.
Sir, I had a question that you said that in the time of Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu, in the Battle of Bridge, they joined ships to make the bridge, right?
Yes, please.
So wasn't that a navy?
Actually, Navy is in the sea, na? Uh, in river, basically those ships were not the military ships. These ships they were used for transportation basically. And river, you know that is like 1 mile or 2 miles. That's the radius. So basically, that was not a naval force. That was just these ships. They were used for transportation or traveling or crossing the river. And whenever armies they would go there, they would ask the people and they would capture the boats, and then they will make a bridge in that way. But naval force is that which is permanently living in the sea or which have naval bases, and that is only possible in the sea. So that's why we do not say that that was a navy. And Abu Ubaid Sakafi, he was the main commander in that battle, you need to remember. And Abu Ubaid Sakafi, okay, let me conclude over here. There are three important personalities with the similar name. One is Abu Ubaidah bin Al Jarrah. He was a supreme commander on the Syrian front. Another one is Abu Ubaidah bin Haris. He was a close relative of Prophet ﷺ, a cousin of Prophet ﷺ, and he was martyred in the Battle of Uhud. He was among these three people, Hazrat Ali, Hazrat Hamza Razila Talano, and Abu Ubaidah bin Haris. Mostly students they make mistake and they mention Abu Ubaidah bin Al Jarrah. He was the third one, but that was not Abu Ubaidah bin Al Jarrah. That was Abu Ubaidah bin Al Haris. And the third one, that is Abu Ubaid Saqafi. He was from Banu Saqif and he was martyred in the Battle of Bridge. Okay. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Should we wind up? Yes, Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah, Abu Ubaidah bin Haris, and Abu Ubaid Saqafi. Three different personalities. Yeah, Waji, you have a question, please? Can you raise your hand? I didn't see. I cannot see you now.
Sir, my question
Yeah, please.
was that, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Sir, my question was that the thing is, in Hazrat Umar's Caliphate, it's supposed to be the golden age of Islam, right?
Of course.
So the thing was the golden age of Islam, was Islam the highest over there when it expanded the most in Hazrat Umar's Caliphate, or did it expand the most in Hazrat Uthman's Caliphate?
Basically, when we see Hazrat Umar's Caliphate is like 22 lakh square miles. And in the time of Hazrat Usman, it reached to 38, 38 lakh square miles. So Islamic Khilafah was expanded too much. And even in the first few years, like third, fourth, fifth, sixth years of the Caliphate Usman, Razil Ta'ala anhu, that was the golden era. And even it is mentioned in the books, people they forget even the time of Hazrat Umar Razil Ta'ala anhu, and they were thinking that is the glorious time. But as we consider the whole of the Khilafah, that's why we mentioned that golden age is the time of Hazrat Umar Razil Ta'ala anhu. Basically, in the time of Usman Razil Ta'ala anhu, some problems they emerge, and we'll see further in his time period. We'll discuss how class differentiation that emerged. Some of the people they got very rich, and a gulf emerged between the poor and the rich people. So that's why it is not considered in that way an age of a golden era, you may say. But prosperity, of course, that was a golden era. But when we consider the other points like public well-being, or maybe connectivity between the people, or how the people they were content with the government, from that scenario we consider that Hazrat Umar Razil Ta'ala's time was the golden era. And further institutions they were developed in his time, and that was a difficult time period. For Usman Razil Ta'ala's time period, we see that each and everything was set properly, and it was working in a correct order as it was established by Hazrat Umar Razil Ta'ala. So because of that, we consider that Hazrat Umar's time period, that is the golden era. I hope it's clear, Wajib. Okay. Any other?
Also, sir, I think like if we like expansion wise also, as we know, okay, till Hazrat Usman's time it was more expanded. But if we compare as a caliphate from Abu Bakr's time, like from Abu Bakr's time to Umar's time, the expansion, and from Umar's time to Usman's time, right? Like within one caliphate time period, it was less in Usman's time as compared to Umar's time, radiyallahu anhum, right?
Hey,
As an
you are right. You
individual.
are right. You are right. That
Yeah, from that point of view also, Umar's time was greater
of
because
course.
Hazrat Usman's time period, little more expansion was there, but Hazrat
Hmm.
Umar's time, it was huge
Of
expansion
course. Of
as
course.
compared to Abu Bakr's time.
Of course. If we compare it that way, you may say that 20% of the, or the 15% that was concurred in the time of Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq Razila Ta'ala Anhu,
Hmm.
and around 65% that was in the time of Hazrat Umar Razila Ta'ala Anhu, and around 35 to 30 that was in the time of Hazrat Usman Razila
Yes.
Ta'ala Anhu. So you are very much right. That's why we
Hmm.
consider the golden era. Any other question? Yes, Vaji?
Sir, my question was that one of the questions can be possible that explain about the golden age of Islam, right? So, do we just write the main points, or like do we go full detail and explain every single change he made of the governors, of his cabinet, of the expansion of how much it expanded, or do we just give brief points?
You need to discuss briefly and give reasons because of these reasons that was a golden era. You may discuss expansion just a single point, or administration a single point. So in that way you can discuss the aspects which made that era golden era. No need to go in the depth, because if you are discussing the details, that is knowledge part. But if you are comparing that, giving that in a way that you are discussing as a reason, that is needed, not the details. And I have planned for that question as well. I will discuss in detail this question as well. Golden era question, inshallah. But first, let me complete the caliphate. Inshallah, at the end, I will discuss a few questions which can be little difficult. Most importantly, B parts. Inshallah, I will discuss this question as well. Inshallah, that is in plan. Any other question? So, ma'am, can we wind up now? Miss Rifat, can we conclude now? I think there's no other questions. So, inshallah, we will continue.
Yes, sir, sure. Yeah, we can conclude, sure.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Inshallah, we'll continue in the next class. So, have a wonderful weekend, and try to spend more and more time in the worship of Almighty Allah. And this is a blessed month of Ramadan. It's a blessing, and we are entering into the last 10 days, last Ashara of Ramadan. So, pray for me also, for all of us, all the teachers, and remember us in your prayers, and try to spend this time in a much better way. So, inshallah, see you in the next class. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you, sir. Jazakumullah
You're
khair.
welcome. Welcome.
Allah Hafiz. Imanillah.